Well, thank you, Dr. Spicer, for joining us and recognizing Dr. Wendy Armstrong, who you nominated as and has won the this year's Department of Medicine Shanthi Sitaraman Silver Pear Award for mentoring. For those that don't know you, could you introduce yourself to us?
Absolutely. I'm Jen Spicer. I am an assistant professor in the Division of Infectious Diseases, and I'm mostly based clinically at Grady, where I do inpatient infectious disease consults and HIV outpatient care. And then I have various educational roles in the residency program and over at the medical school.
When we think about what makes a good mentor, I was wondering if you could share with us your thoughts about what are the characteristics that you feel are in a good mentor.
Yeah. So, I think that a good mentor is somebody who really puts their mentees first, which sounds really simple, but I think is really difficult, right? Because there's that tension of, you want your mentees to do really well, but you also want to benefit from your mentees a little bit, right? Like, so they're looking for a job. Maybe you want them to stay where you are because you love working with them. And so I think that a good mentor really listens to their mentees, thinks about them, and thinks about what's truly best for their mentees without that necessarily personal interest involved quite as much. And I think they also are people who sponsor you for opportunities and challenge you by giving you feedback and also disagreeing with you when maybe what you think is the right thing isn't necessarily the right thing for you.
Was wondering if you could share maybe some of the reasons you nominated Dr. Armstrong, or what characteristics does Dr. Armstrong exemplify that has made her such a good mentor and a deserving recipient of this year's award?
Yeah, so I've been lucky to know Wendy since I was a medical student. And I think what really stands out about her is that I felt seen as a person from the time that I first started working with her. And I felt like she really got to know me as an individual. And that idea of really thinking about me and what was best for my career was always there. So even though she's the ID fellowship program director and wanted me to stay here for my training, she was also very supportive and helping me explore other places. Same when I was looking for faculty positions, really trying to, as objectively as possible, kind of weigh those pros and cons for me, and then put on her recruitment hat and kind of try to recruit me here. But I think that she always listens. She is always available. And more than that, she really speaks about me to other people to get me opportunities. So a lot of my educational roles have really been helped by both her guiding me and developing skills and experience, but also her sharing opportunities with me. So one specific thing is through the Infectious Diseases Society of America, she's really involved in the leadership there. And so when they were looking for somebody to evaluate a new curriculum, she put my name forward, even though I was only a fellow, because she knew that I would put in the work for it. And she mentored me through that, but gave me an opportunity to really do something ahead of, what I would have had an opportunity to do without her putting my name in the hat. Um, and I think that those things are what I really appreciate about her. But it's not just always support. She also really challenges me. So every time I give a talk and she's there, afterwards we sit down and she gives me feedback and she says, like, hey, this was really great. Here's something I'd suggest doing differently next time. So it's that combination of kind of support and challenge that I think really makes her such a wonderful mentor.
Well, thank you. For now, we're being joined by Dr. Wendy Armstrong, this year's winner of the Shanthi Sitaraman Silver Pear Mentoring Award. Dr. Armstrong is no stranger for anyone in the department, with holds many roles, including the Vice Chair of Education. But maybe, Wendy, if you wouldn't mind maybe giving us a one-liner that maybe a specifically a role that leads you into that mentoring space.
Sure. If I, had to, I guess I wear a bunch of different hats, but the roles that really lead me into mentoring, I think first off is being program director of the Infectious Disease Fellowship, which I have now been for, I think, nearly 15 years, and really has helped me learn how to be, I think, a mentor in many ways. But also, I think the vice chair of education for the department is also another role where this has played a part. And then the last role that's important to me is that I actually really love being an infectious disease and HIV clinician, and that's given me an opportunity, I think, to interact with a lot of mentees, both junior faculty, and trainees at every level.
I was wondering if you maybe talk a little bit about your mentoring philosophy, maybe specifically what are some things you do or you have seen role modeled in your own career that has made you such a great role model, mentor?
Well, I'll just say that, I've had several impactful mentors in my life and still do, people who are still in my life, even though they may be distant as far as location. And, they've taught me a few things. And the first, perhaps most important thing is that you have to listen and listen very carefully to what your mentee is telling you. So I think when we enter these relationships, we often enter with our own expectations or our own judgments about what we think is important. And that may or may not be what your mentee wants to do. They may not want to do something traditional or, engage in something that, that has been sort of part of your life or part of your philosophy. I think if you listen carefully, people often will tell you, even if they don't realize it, they will tell you what they want to do, where they want to go, what they want their life to look like. And then to me, the mentor's job is to help make that happen. And so you may be able to do that. It may require engaging other people, but that's, I think, our job is to, hear what is important to people and then help make that happen. And, so it might not be defined. It might be, I think I want to spend this amount of time there, but I don't know what that job is. Or I think I would like to achieve this, but I don't know how you get there. But listen, help make it happen. And then the last thing is to really be honest and be transparent. And so I remember one mentor of mine who is still a mentor to this day. And we were in a meeting together. And after the meeting, she was like, "What were you doing? You were like looking down the whole time." And I was like looking down, and as I was trying to formulate my thoughts and be really impressive. This was like very early in my career. And, she just like gave it to me straight. And, that was, those are the sorts of pieces of advice that are really important, but often we are reluctant to say so bluntly.
Thank you. Those are some great advice for some of our junior mentors who are just starting their roles. And it's nice to know, and I'm sure they will appreciate knowing that you yourself are still leaning onto your own mentors, even, with how accomplished you've been. And Leslie, what are some of the joys or benefits that mentorship has given you?
So, it is like probably my favorite job, to be honest with you, if you call it a job. It is so gratifying and so wonderful in my life to see mentees achieve beyond what I could ever dream of doing. And so to interact with talented people, help get them on the right path, and then see them, thrive and have incredible careers, and then get valued for all that they bring to the table. And so, that's been, really through the ID Fellowship, for example. I have people who have been fellows that are now in places throughout the country, and I can see the great work they're doing. Or, as you know, Noble, when you see our medical students, our small group medical students then thrive and go into whatever profession that it is that they choose, and how often they look back and say, "Hey, thanks for, helping me out and getting me on the right path." That is an immense amount of joy that I get from that. And it's far more than I get from any other title or anything else.
Well, that comment is one of the many reasons you were so deserving of this year's Shanthi Sitaraman Silver Pear Mentoring Award. Congratulations, and thanks again for your time.
Thank you.